Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Olivia's Obscura. We are back once again. I am back. My name is Olivia, and I am, of course, your host today. Happier than ever to be here. Um, yeah, second ep of 2024. Last week's episode was a little crazy. I actually got some really excellent responses to that, which I might actually touch on later if I remember that I even mentioned it right now. But I wasn't even planning on recording today. It's Friday. It's Friday, January 5th. I release these episodes on Monday or like midnight on Sunday, usually. And I usually like to record on Saturday because then I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like pop culture stuff like tends to happen on Fridays. I don't know why. Like, I feel like there's been a few times where I've recorded on a Friday and then like that night, like something happens and I'm like, oh, fuck, I wanted to talk about that. But then it's like, well, I've already published like I've already scheduled the episode to go up. So it's like a real pain in my ass to go back and talk about this thing. So that's usually why it makes more sense for me usually to put it off to Saturday. Then I have to turn around the episode pretty quick though, because I don't know, like sometimes I'll record it and then go through and edit it right away. But sometimes I want to sit on it a little bit because it's like a lot to talk for like an hour and a half and then have to listen to myself talk for an hour and a half, like back to back in like a 4+ hour chunk. It's kind of like, I feel like that's like damaging for your psyche. I feel like no person should be subject to their own voice and reflections and inner thoughts like that. But I don't know. I went for a walk. I actually went on my second walk of the day and it was beautiful. The sun was like low in the sky, which is my favorite. Like winter light, like January light in San Diego at like 3:30, 4 p.m. Mwah, chef's kiss. It is like the perfect golden hour. And so I just felt inspired to come back here and hop on the mic and vamp a little bit, riff a little bit, get into it. If you can't get out of it, get into it. That's what I always say. I actually was told that by a customer when I worked at a coffee shop. One time he was like riffing with me at the register, and he was like my dad's age probably. So he had like this kind of like this like vibe about him, like a little bit wise, you know? And he said, well, if you can't get out of it, get into it. That's what I always say. And I'm like, that's actually like pretty good. That's actually pretty good. And now I say it all the time. It's kind of like a joke though. It's kind of like I don't know, like, because I'd never heard anyone say that before. He said it. Oh my God, Adam, get off of the desk. You cannot be on the desk while I'm recording. I feel like I'd never heard someone say, if you can't get out of it, get into it. But to me, it's kind of like like another day in paradise, like that kind of vibe of like, oh, well, I'm not going to get into it, but if you can't get out of it, get into it. So that was kind of like a good working in customer service motto. That being said, here I sit. After my walk, I have made it my goal. Okay. Because here's the thing. Don't believe in New Year's resolutions. That's just too much pressure. Simply put, it's way too much pressure. How am I supposed to know in January if I'm still gonna if that is still even gonna be something that resonates with me come like August, September? Like I contain multitudes, you know what I mean? Like I really do, and I'm a woman in flux. I'm a woman in constant change, and I'm trying to embrace that. And so why would I want to tether myself to a goal that I made on like December 31st the whole following year? It's just like a lot. It's kind of overwhelming. Therefore, I don't do it. However, before Christmas, like beginning of December, I would say around Thanksgiving, end of November, beginning of December, I'd kind of gotten out of my walking routine. So, I was like, now it's going to be my daily goal to at least walk for like 15 minutes because I'm kind of like all or nothing. Like I want to like put in my headphones and like go, because like I love to like zone out, like listen to a podcast, zone out on my walk, like brain off. It's like the only thing I can get to, like, I assume that's how meditating is for some people. And like I know when you're meditating, you're supposed to be like alone with your thoughts or whatever and like not a podcast, but I don't know. I just find that like the right podcast when you're walking, like it inspires me. It keeps me going. It like makes me reflect as I'm walking. And then it like overall is a net positive in my like reflections throughout the day. You know what I mean? So whatever, boohoo. If you want to like stick to your archaic views of meditating where you can't listen to a podcast, you do you, okay? I'm on this neo meditation shit. I am listening to a podcast and letting my thoughts come and go. And I'm walking and I'm getting my steps in. So, you know, really you can't argue with that. You really can't argue with that. But it was my goal, like kind of intention. It was like a little bit of an intention of like, okay, well, I'm just going to try to go, even if I can't do like a full on like hour-long zone out walk around the neighborhood, I can just do like a 15-minute spin. Like I can just do like a 15-minute spin around like the block, like down to the park and back. Like I don't have to commit to such a long walk if it doesn't fit into my day otherwise. Because even 15 minutes would do me good, you know, like even 15 minutes of listening to a little potty, you know, getting some fresh air, like that's going to do my brain and my body and my soul better than not at all, which seems very obvious. But sometimes when I'm in the weeds with it, I'm like, well, I'm just not going to go at all. If I can't do it the way I should be doing it, the way I quote unquote should be doing it, then I shouldn't do it at all. Poo-poo. No more of that. So I was really good about doing that. I actually, like, I walked every day and I was like, this is incredible. I kind of abandoned like the 10,000 step goal because like, first of all, I listened to maintenance phase. Okay. And I know that the 10,000 steps is an arbitrary number that was basically sold to us as a way to get people to buy like Fitbits and Apple Watches and stuff. Go listen to the maintenance phase 10,000 steps episode. Okay. It will change the way you view steps. I can tell you that. but I do just like, you know, I kind of like to strive for the 5,000 to 7,000 step mark, which is about like 1.3, 1.5 miles. And I use my like iPhone 10, my iPhone like from like 6 years ago. So the pedometer on that is like obviously not as accurate as like a Fitbit or a like Apple Watch would be, but I don't really use it. Like, I don't use it to like, as a measure of my like actual fitness. I just kind of like use it as a reference point of like, okay, like how many steps is this many miles to me? Like the actual like ratio, like it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean? Like it's not that serious. It's really not that serious. But I'm just kind of telling you this for calculation purposes because come like Christmas, I was like, okay, or maybe like a week before Christmas, I was feeling like really motivated. I was having like this rare burst of energy that like I rarely have in the winter. For like a week, I was doing really well and I was getting a lot done and in a great mood. And I was like, I'm actually going to up the stakes. I think that I can challenge myself to do 3 miles a day because that will actually be really fun for me because, it's like very, very attainable. Like, 3 miles. I'm like a fast walker. I'm a brisk walker. I get there. Okay. I get there and back and I do it fast. And I think it's because I used to go, me and my mom and my sister used to go on walks all the time. Like when we were little, my mom would be like, we're going for a walk in the middle of winter. She'd be like, we're going for a walk, which like did instill a lifelong love of walking in me, which I do love. Like, I'm glad it wasn't running. You know what I mean? Like, fuck running. I'm not going to run even if you're chasing me. Sorry. I don't really want to live that bad. What? Did I say that? But like walking is like a really sustainable, like easy on the joints, like easy on, like, you know, like really all you need is like a comfortable pair of shoes to walk if you're like an able-bodied person. Okay. I realize it comes from a place of privilege. I'm like an able-bodied person. The only thing you need really is a pair of comfortable shoes. If you're someone who's gonna walk. And like, you know, I prefer to also have like a pair of headphones and a podcast, really it's like a very accessible form of exercise that is also like sustainable. So like 3 miles for me is like very much something that like I can do every day. Like it's not that big of a chunk out of my day. Like I can clock 3 miles in about 45 minutes and it's about 10,000 steps. It kind of changes based on like where I have, like, if I have my phone in my pocket versus like my bagoo versus like my hand, like it tracks the steps differently. So it's like, I'm taking that with a giant grain of salt, but thanks for listening to me talk about my walking for the past like 10 minutes. It's kind of like it's not a New Year's resolution, right? It's just kind of like, it's resonating with me right now to walk 3 miles a day. And I have been doing it. I only missed one day. I missed Wednesday. And that's because my cup was being filled with my social life that day and hanging out with Ty and hanging out with my friends, and just kind of like walking wasn't something that I needed to do that day, and that's okay. But other than that, I've been doing 3 miles every day. It's resonating with me right now. When it doesn't resonate with me anymore, I'm not going to put pressure on myself to do it anymore. But if it continues to resonate with me, then I am going to keep doing it. Okay, that's it. I'm really done talking about walking now. In a similar vein, we've all been subject to so many of those ins and out lists on Instagram and TikTok, right? Like, I do feel like we're all entitled to financial compensation for the damages those have caused us. Oh, one sec, because I'm actually opening TikTok right now because I want to read some of these, because I don't know why they pissed me off so much. They pissed me off. And like irrationally so. Like they kind of irrationally pissed me off. Every time I saw one, I was like, who do you think you are? Which, like, I know is like me projecting. Like, it's me projecting because I'm too insecure to post my ins and outs list. So I'm like projecting onto them, like, who do you think you are? Because like that's what I'm thinking about myself. But it is kind of like, first of all, are you the authority on what's in and out next year? Because these are kind of being posited as like, this is the trend forecast for the next year, right? When in reality, they seem to be very personal to the people that are making them. But I'm not perceiving them as such. And maybe that is like an internal problem, that I'm not processing these the way they're meant to be processed. But like, they seem to be served in a way that is, this is what I think is good and cool to do in the new year. And this is what I think is out. And like, first of all, I am a free thinker, so I don't fall victim to the trend cycle. Okay. I still wear like the same Target jacket that I got 5 years ago. And I love it. And I love that Target jacket, okay? Nobody talks shit on my Target jacket. She always comes through. So, like, I don't know. Like, I don't, like, really... Like, I really am not, like, in the weeds when it comes to, like, trends. Like, I really think millennials need to shut the hell up about how Gen Z hates skinny jeans. Girl, who gives a flying shit about your jeans? Like, just wear them. Like, literally just wear them. Like, why are you having a full-blown meltdown on TikTok about the fact that you're never going to wear wide-legged jeans? Okay, then don't. Literally, then don't do it. Who cares? But, like, who am I to talk? Because, like, I'm getting all peeved about these ins and outs lists. But here's one of them. I'm trying to find ones that I've already seen, but I didn't like any of them because, like, one thing about me is if I don't like it, I'm not going to like it. Maybe I'll favorite it if I'm like, I've got to come back to this to like show to somebody or reference again or talk about on my podcast, etc. I will favorite it, but I will not like it if I don't actually like it. Okay, like this one. The ins are fine. In paying with cash, I don't know why that's like in, but like whatever. I guess so. Like, I'm never going to pay in cash, but like go off, I guess, unless you like literally force me. Unless you're like, you can't use your card here. I'm not going to pay in cash. Seeing movies in theaters. Hard agree. Movies are back. Taxis. Okay. Well, I think that's kind of like region dependent. Physical photo albums, red wine, walking, hats, pajama sets. Like, okay, fine. Like, all of that's fine. Then we get to out. And the first one on there is photo dumps. What do we have against a photo dump? Like that, I feel like photo dumps just kind of became a thing. Like, what are we suggesting happens instead? What's another way to you know, kind of easily mass put out a dump of the minute moments of the past like month, 2 months, 3 months of your life? Like, I love a photo dump. Like, that's the closest thing. Like, I know they were curated the hell out, like, people curated the hell out of their photo dumps, and, like, so do I. But, like, that was kind of, like, the first glimpse into, like, truth and reality that we've had on social media in a while. Not, I shouldn't say social media, on Instagram particularly in a while. This one says, in, waking up early, and then out is coffee. So many of the girlies on TikTok have coffee on their out lists. And I'm like, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I actually can't, like, if we're going to cancel coffee this year, like, I'm actually going to be pissed. Like, if coffee becomes the new seed oil that, like, all of the weird, like, right-wing, like, fitness people, like, start talking about coffee, like, I can't do it. Okay? Please, like, just can we not have anything? Let us have coffee. I know that literally so many people, I've seen an uptick of it personally, or maybe it's just the content that's being served to me, but specifically on Reels, there's a real trend of people saying, I went caffeine free or cut caffeine out of my life, and I've never felt better, and you should do it too. And I'm like, I'm like holding on to my coffee with claw marks in it. Okay. It has claw marks in it. You can't make me become a tea drinker in the morning. That's, no, starting off I love a good cup of black tea. I love an Earl Grey. I love a London Fog. That being the thing that I drink in the morning, it just isn't really like, that's not like synchronous with my vibe. Also, I feel like I'm brave enough to admit here that like, I think I just don't like matcha. I try so often to like matcha, and like every once in a while I liked it. Like I hate to say it, but like when I worked at Starbucks, I liked the matcha there, and it's because it like was mostly sugar. Like I really only like it if it's like sweetened the hell out of, because it's a little bit, the thing is like, I don't mind bitter. Like I do drink, it's insufferable, I know, but I do drink my coffee, like my like drip coffee black. I drink my Americano, my iced Americanos black. Like I do like a black coffee. I do like that like bitterness. But what doesn't really resonate with me with the matcha is usually like an earthiness. That kind of is a bit incongruent with what I'm looking for in a beverage. And so like relying on matcha as like my caffeine isn't really going to work for me. Also, to prepare matcha at home is kind of, it's like kind of an undertaking. It's kind of an undertaking. Like you got to get the right matcha. Like you got to get like obviously you don't want some like mass produced like Urban Outfitters matcha. Like I do feel like perhaps you should be getting like the good kind. Like the good, what do they call it? Ceremonial grade matcha. And then you have to have one of those little whisks, those bamboo whisks. And there's just like a lot involved. There's just a lot. And I really respect people who are like, I love my matcha. It's my meditation. Like I want to be you so bad. I do. And I wish I liked to wake up in the morning and go over to my matcha station and whisk up my little matcha, but I really don't. So I'm going to stick with coffee. I'm sticking with coffee. You will not catch me with caffeine on my out list anytime soon. Because I think that a lot of, and this is my like beef with a ton, I'm not going to get too much into this because I don't have any qualifications and I don't know a lot of stuff, but I've like listened to enough maintenance and consumed enough of this kind of content that I have a strong opinion on it. Okay. So many health and wellness trends are prescribed as like a one size fits all. Like, and I just like don't really believe that's the case. Like, I don't believe that like everyone needs to cut out dairy. Like I feel like it was popular for a while to be like, nobody needs dairy. Like as an adult, like unless you're a baby, like you don't need dairy. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I feel like some people like maybe do. Like, I don't know, like who knows what you're deficient in that you might need dairy for, or like, and I'm not even saying it's a health need. Like, I'm not saying that me drinking coffee is like a health necessitator, but like, oh, you shouldn't drink coffee. Like coffee is point blank bad for everyone and you should be restricting it. Like, I don't know. I just don't really think that's true. Like, I don't notice any negative side effects in my life from the amount of caffeine that I consume. Like I usually drink a couple cups of coffee in the morning, and then occasionally I'll get like a latte or like an iced Americano in the afternoon, or like a London Fog or something like that. I usually never drink caffeine past like, like 4 or 5 in the afternoon, but like even if I do, it kind of isn't like if I have like a Carajillo or an espresso martini or something, like it does not really like keep me up in the way that like some people are like, oh, I can't have caffeine after like 3 p.m. Some people are even like, I can't have caffeine after like 1 p.m. And I'm like, okay, like I just can't relate. So like I kind of don't believe it when you say that caffeine is bad for everyone and it like fucks up everyone's hormones, and it's like that. Like I genuinely don't know how my life could be better by cutting out caffeine. I can actually only see the ways in which it would be worse. All right, I've got a few things on the docket this week, things that I've been jotting down throughout the week that I have been meaning to talk about. The first of which is yesterday, I believe, Thursday, maybe Wednesday, but I believe it was yesterday, the New York Times published a big Gaylor article. Like I've heard people saying it's like the most comprehensive like Gaylor article yet. And I like, can I say something? Can I say in this sacred space? I didn't read it. I like want to. I was like, I gotta read it. I gotta talk about it on the podcast. But then I was like, no, don't make me. I don't want to. You guys, I'm like burnt out. I'm a little bit burnt out, okay? And like, hear me say this. Like, I'm a little bit burnt out about the Gaylor discourse. And like, I am not saying that I'm not a believer, because I am. That is at my core. But right now, at this certain point in time, it's not fun anymore. I need to take a step back, and I'll come back stronger than before. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing, is like, I will come back stronger than before. But right now, I am burnt out of the Gaylor discourse and the community on TikTok and on Twitter. Oh, because Twitter, I never use the following, like scroll, like following feed, I guess, on X, on Twitter. I always use the For You feed. And I see so much Gaylor discourse that makes me want to put a bullet in my brain. And like, genuinely, not to be like, Kim, there are people dying, but like, guys, like, get a grip. Like, there is bigger stuff to me. Like, I don't know why. Like, I'm kind of just like, it's kind of like the orbit, like the way the sun orbits around the earth, you know? Wait, that's not true. The way the earth orbits around the sun. Like, I'm just kind of like not in the portion of my orbit right now where like I'm shining a lot of light on the Gaylor stuff, because first of all, I can't keep up. Second of all, the like comment sections and the Twitter threads like drive me crazy. Like, I feel like people have just like no like sense of nuance or like critical thinking, which like I know is rich coming from me. But yeah, I thought about I thought about reading the Gaylor article, and then I was on TikTok yesterday, and a bunch of the creators that I follow, like the Gaylor creators that I follow, were posting like these really long, in-depth videos about it that I like so badly wanted to watch, but like they were making my chest feel tight. Like I was overwhelmed by the amount of opinions and by the amount of discourse and by the amount of conversations. I was like, I have to step away. I can't do this right now. Because I feel like the voices within the Gaylor community used to be very small. Okay. And like, I'm not like a way back Gaylor, right? I fell into it in like 2020. So like I was on the subreddit and like on Twitter and on like, and the Gaylor community on TikTok at that time, at least to me, was like non-existent. Like maybe it existed in 2020, but like unbeknownst to me, it's like very rich now. But I was in the sub and I was like really getting into the Gaylor pipeline in like summer, fall of 2020. And there were just not as many voices in the space. And I feel like there was just, there weren't nearly as many like people. I never like actually like wrote anything in the sub. Like I don't actually post on Reddit. I just lurk. I never comment on anything. I never post anything. I literally am just a voyeur on there. But the conversations that were being had like in the Gaylor Swift sub at the time were just like they just felt different than the ones that are now. Like, I feel like there's too much there now. Like I can't keep up with it. I feel like, I don't know, like there's just, it blew up. Like the, the movement really blew up. And I just kind of feel like it's overwhelming now for me to keep up with. And like, I don't know. I know this is like so trite, but I have to talk about it. Okay? Like, listen, we need things in life that are like light and fluffy. To me, though, Gaylor TikTok is making my chest feel tight. So I'm moving myself. Maybe I will read the article this week when I feel ready. When I feel ready, it's like long. It's like a long ass article. So when I feel the need to like really get into it, really zoom in on my phone to read a NYT article, then I guess I will. But like the other thing is like the New York Times is like kind of on my shit list right now. Anyway, I'm on Gaylor hiatus. I'm on my Gaylor sabbatical. I'll see y'all in like 4 to 6 weeks, okay? I did go and see Anyone But You a couple days ago. I went with Montana and then our friend Hannah, who I don't know if I've mentioned my name on the podcast before, but there is a new Obscurapod Cinematic Universe character for you all to enjoy. Hannah and Montana. We went and saw a matinee, like a 2 p.m. showing, which like, honestly, I've kind of been like sleeping on matinees. Matinees are kind of lit. Like there was something really magical about going to see a movie at 2 p.m. Like, you know, sometimes heartbreak feels good in a place like this, and the stories feel powerful and perfect because they are. But this was a movie that I had a lot of interest in seeing simply due to the like amount of like cultural hype around it and like the place it had in pop culture, because like obviously the Glenn and Sydney like cheating rumors, affair rumors, like that had me hooked. Okay, like hook, line, and sinker. Okay, you got me, and like they did have good chemistry in those pictures from like, I think those pictures from set that were leaked, or like the press they were doing at the time, or I don't know, like they did have good chemistry. But then I saw the trailer for the movie and I was like, oh, like this does not look good. Like it doesn't really look funny. It doesn't really look like the acting is very good. I really had like extremely low expectations going into it, especially since like the guy who like produced it, or like, I don't know, like the guy who did the movie, I don't even know what his name is, but he was like hyping it up as like, this is going to be the last great rom-com to ever exist. Like I did something that's never been done before. And I'm like, leave it to a man to say that he's the only one who's going to do the last rom-com. How do you even know you can't say it's the last great something. How do you not know there's not going to be another one? So like that rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, they're really overhyping this movie. Like I actually don't believe it's that revolutionary. And like, I did enjoy it. Like I really did. Like it was actually like way more enjoyable than I thought. I thought that the trailer like did not do a good job, in my opinion, of like depicting the overall feel of the movie. I thought that the trailer made it seem like really like way more corny and like bad than it actually was. Like it was a good story. It was like an interesting story. Like I thought it was like a good length. Like it wasn't too long. Like I thought that like the Natasha Bedingfield of it all was cute. Like I thought it was like really good. I like actually deeply enjoyed it. I don't have any like, you know, deep thoughts about it. I don't have any like cerebral observations about it, but like I thought it was funny. I thought that the fact that the dog was named Klonopin was an excellent touch. The one thing I will say is that I had seen a lot of TikToks about the kitchen scene. People were like, oh my God, like the kitchen scene in Anybody But You. There was like this video of these girls like dancing around like after watching it, and they were like, us after watching the kitchen scene in Anyone But You. And so I don't know what I was expecting from this kitchen scene. Like I guess I was expecting something that was on par with the ever so hyped up bathtub scene that, in my opinion, did deliver for all the Saltburn heads out there. But I kind of had no concept of like the kitchen scene. And so the whole time there was like a kitchen scene at the beginning when they were having the grilled cheese. I'm not going to do any spoilers in this movie. There was a kitchen, well, maybe light spoilers, okay, but nothing life-changing. there's a kitchen scene at the beginning when he made her the grilled cheese, and like that, and so I was like, is this the kitchen scene they were talking about? Like, this is literally like the first one of the first scenes in the movie. Like, I can't imagine this is what they're talking about. And then I think the kitchen scene that they were referring to is the one at the Australia house when they're making grilled cheese after they got rescued out of the harbor, and he like sets her up on the counter, and she like puts her arms back onto the, like, she puts her hands back onto the glass cabinets and like leaves like greasy handprints. And like that was the extent of it. Like, and I was like, wait a second, like, is that the kitchen scene that everyone was talking about? And me and Montana were driving home afterwards, and I was like, okay, so I kept hearing like all of this hype about the kitchen scene, and like I'm starting to think that all of that hype was coming from literal virgins. Like, with all respect, with peace and love. Like, if you're a virgin, peace and love, peace and love, peace and love. However, I can't imagine any, like, I just don't know why. I don't know. Something about it didn't resonate with me as to like why it was a big deal, life-changing. But if it did for you, then I'm loving that. Like, if that was like for some reason your sexual awakening, like, more power to you. I'm like really stoked for you. Up next, could I recommend Saltburn? Just kidding. I did see some pretty intriguing previews. Okay. I saw the Zendaya tennis movie. I think it's called The Challengers. Looks pretty iconic. Like, I definitely am going to have my ass sat in the theater for that one. Also, there was one that had Ryan Gosling and Emily Blunt as the leads. And like, he was a stuntman, and she was like the director on a movie, and like it seems as though they were having like a love affair. Like, first of all, Ryan Gosling looked hot as fuck. Emily Blunt also looked incredible. I will also enthusiastically be seated for a viewing of that movie. I think it was called The Fall Guy. And yeah, I think I remember Googling it when we got out of the theater, and it's like a remake of like a movie from the 80s that I've literally never heard of the same name, but like pop off, I guess. Because it's funny, because as I was like watching the trailer, the preview, I was like, this is actually like a really good like original concept. Like, movies are back, baby. Like, first we have like a tennis love triangle movie starring Zendaya. Love that. Now I have a Ryan Gosling as a stuntman falling in love with a female director. Like, okay, like, yeah, slay. And then I was like, oh, that is a remake. That wasn't an original concept. Because I was like, wow, for once, an original concept. Like, movies have all just been remakes and blah, blah, blah. But like, hey, I was eating my words, because that one is a remake too. I also watched The Triangle of Sadness, which I keep wanting to call The Triangle of Perpetual Sorrow. I just kind of feel like that name's like a little bit more hardcore, but they didn't want to use it. I reached out. I said, hey, would you like to change the title to The Triangle of Perpetual Sorrow? And they were like, no, we're good. I zoned in and out of the movie a little bit because Ty and Montana wanted to watch it, and I was like kind of on board. But I definitely like really clocked out for a good portion of the middle part. Spoilers for Triangle of Sadness if you haven't seen it. Skip ahead. If you don't care, then by all means, listen. There is a lot of barfing and shitting and bodily fluids in this movie that I personally hated. The whole point of the movie is it's these like rich people that are on this luxury yacht. And like the main like girl that it follows is like this influencer who had been like gifted this trip for free, and like her boyfriend, who is like a male model, was on the boat too. And like she was like on the boat in exchange for like posting influencer content. But all these other people on the boat were like these old people, like these old rich like people who were like, you know, pigs, like billionaire pigs, blah blah blah. And Woody Harrelson, ever typecast as a messy alcoholic, was the messy alcoholic captain of the ship. And there was this really bad storm that they were like passing through, like, what do you call it, like boat turbulence, like boat like choppy seas, I guess. And there was this dinner that was going on, and this was kind of like the like in my opinion, like, I mean, I guess that was like definitely the climax of the movie. I was like trying to think, I'm like, what actually was like the climax of this movie? And I actually do think it was this boat like capsizing scene. But they're doing this fancy like captain's dinner with all of these like fancy courses and like really like weird food, like the kind of food, like if you guys have seen The Menu with Anya Taylor-Joy, it's like weird food, like The Menu, like gelatin and like balls of like liquid and stuff. That was very much the vibe. And the boat is like rocking back and forth and like silverware is clattering all over. And it's like, first of all, this whole movie, extremely unpleasant watch. The way the entire thing from the very beginning was just shot to make you uncomfortable. Like I almost, like I gotta respect it. You know what I mean? Like I can recognize that that is like a good movie. Like art is supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. Doesn't mean that I have to like it. Doesn't mean that I had to think it was good. Like I know it was a good movie, but I personally didn't like it. Okay. And I thought it was an unpleasant viewing experience. But this was kind of like the peak of that. When like the seas were choppy and people started getting sick and people just started like the amount of projectile vomiting in this movie is insane. And like, I do not do well with vomiting. Okay. Like I have that like vomit phobia, whatever. I always have, like literally since I was a little kid. Like it's not for me. So I averted my eyes. I was like, I can't really do this right now. There was just like barf everywhere. Like people just like I can't stress enough to you, like the sheer amount of people projectile vomiting like orange goo. And they were all throwing up this like orange liquid, and they were all throwing up so much liquid. And I'm like, what have these people on this cruise been consuming that they are throwing up gallons and gallons and gallons of safety orange liquid? I'm so concerned. But then worse, a more egregious crime was that there was at one point this lady sitting on the toilet, and you see in the, like, you guys, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I know that like I am like a real like pee pee poo poo like kind of gal. Like I do love like a pee pee poo poo like moment. Like the line has to fall somewhere, and this scene crossed the line for me, the pee pee poo poo threshold. This like old lady who was on the cruise was sitting like butt ass naked on the toilet. The boat was rocking back and forth. She leans over to throw up like so much orange liquid, as I've already discussed, and you see just like liquid shit pouring out of her butt. And I'm actually like so sorry that I had to describe that to you, but like if I have to bear the weight of seeing that, I'm relying on you guys to kind of like help me bear the weight of that just by simply hearing me describe it. Like that's kind of what they mean when they say it takes a village, I think. But yeah, so like the verdict on that is that I didn't like it. I thought it was objectively a good movie. I didn't like the barfing. I didn't like the pooping. I didn't like the ending. I know it was like I can respect a movie that like intentionally leaves an open-ended ending or like a vague ending. Like I can respect it, but I don't have to like it. You know what I mean? Like I would have rather had like a good ending on this movie. Okay? I'll say it. Sue me. Okay, I'm back. It's actually the next day. It's Saturday now. This is just going to be a disjointed episode, and that's okay because it's my goddamn podcast. It's my GDP. Yesterday I was in just kind of like a weird mood because I had therapy in the morning, and like it was just like one of those therapy sessions that I like never really recovered from, and we weren't even really like doing any sort of like, you know, deep work. It was quite literally I was just like talking through my my finances with her, because yesterday I woke up and I had an email from the California State like Business Bureau, whatever. I don't even know what the hell it's called. It's like whatever. It's like the California Business Association. I'm like such an idiot. I shouldn't be allowed to have a business, but yet here we are. Nevertheless, she persisted. It's the California Department of Tax and Fee Administration. That's who the email was from. And it said, you need to file your sales tax. You sold stuff in California last year, so you need to file your sales tax for 2023. And I was like, sick. Let's go figure that out. I collect sales tax on my stuff online. And when I run credit cards at like in-person markets and stuff, the only thing I like don't collect sales tax on is Venmo transactions and like cash, but that's like not a large portion of the sales that I make. And like, I just didn't know, like this is the first year that I've had to file to pay my sales tax, because it was the first year that I like made over the threshold of what is like taxable. So I like really had no idea what to expect. And like, quite frankly, like last year, I mentioned this before, when it came to my like small business, my art sales, stuff like that, like I really was playing fast and loose and flying by the seat of my pants. And so I'm not surprised that I didn't know how much I owed in sales tax. This year, obviously, I am keeping better track of that. But you know what? That ship has sailed. At this point, I'm like done like trying to shame myself in retrospect about what I could have done and should have done, and would have done if I would have known, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But at this point, I'm just like, okay, this is the money I owe, and I need to figure out how to do it. I owe $1,183 to the state of California by the end of the month, by January 31st. And I'm stressed because that's like more than my rent payment. So, and like, okay, full transparent. Can I be transparent here? Because here's the thing. I've been watching a lot of like people on TikTok who are just like airing out their finances. And it's like so comforting and so refreshing to like hear real people talk about like how much money they make and how much debt they're in and why. And like, I can't, there's this girl on TikTok that I actually started following like when she had like 9,000 followers. Like I got in really early and she kind of blew up, but her name is Brittany Reynolds. And she started her account when she was paying off $36,000 of credit card debt. And she's living with her parents right now. And cause she's going through a breakup, she moved back with her parents and she's like paying off of her credit card debt and she's just like chronicling the process. And it's just like really interesting to get a glimpse into other people's finances because I feel like you don't know what's normal. Like you don't know because no one like talks about the money they have or what's in their savings account and what did their parents set them up with and what do, like, are they in debt? Are they in credit card debt? Are they in student loan debt? Like people don't talk about that. And like, I'm here to talk about it. Okay. I'm in credit card debt. I'm in credit card debt from last year. And it's because it was business expenses. It was personal expenses. And do you want to know why? Last year in sales, I made $15,000, about like $15,200. Adam, stop. That was everything that I sold in my online sales. That was everything that I sold at markets. That was the profit that I made from the workshop that I did last year. That's all of my money that comes from like my like sole proprietorship. I have other like part-time jobs that paid me, but the $15,000 was essentially like what I lived off of last year. I would say that like my other like gig jobs that I worked and like part-time work that I picked up last year was like probably around $5,000 if I had to guess. Like I genuinely last year lived on like $20,000. Like, that's like, that was my salary, which is much less than what I was used to making when I had a like full-time job with a paycheck every 2 weeks. And like, part of it, I'm just like, you live and you learn, like you live and you learn. Like I kind of just was like doing what I had to do. I was scraping by and I still am. And the thing is like, I obviously wouldn't have like quit my job like straight away to pursue like being an artist, being like selling my stuff, whatever, like all of that insufferable stuff. But like, I just kind of like fell into it. Like I kind of quit my last in-person job for a remote job. The remote job let me go. That was last February, was the last month that I was working like full-time hours for somebody else. And then around March and April is when I started selling a bunch of like t-shirts through my online shop. I had a video blow up on TikTok of these like Taylor Swift shirt, like lino cut print shirts that I did. Maybe you've seen them, maybe you haven't. They're on my Instagram, but the initial one that blew up was a Cowboy Like Me design. It had like a cowgirl, like a traditional tattoo style cowgirl that said "Forever is the sweetest con." And then that one I think got like 250,000 views, and I got like 100 orders in like a 1 week, which was like way more than I thought. And then it kind of sustained that way for like a month. And then I released an old fashioned design. It was an old fashioned. It says, "From the first old fashioned, we were cursed," obviously from Getaway Car. Duh, get with it. If you can't get out of it, get into it. Okay. Call back. So for the couple of months after I quit, or not quit, after my job ghosted me, my remote job, listen to the first episode if you want the details on that, or some of them. Then I was having all this money coming in from making all these sales that I wasn't used to. Like of the $15,000, that was like essentially my income last year. Probably like 5,000 of that came from like March, April, May kind of like. And so I was kind of like, well, okay, like I'm balling out. The thing is though, I couldn't keep up. And like, I think I talked about this in some episode. I can't remember, maybe not. I know I talked about it on some platform. I can't keep up. I can't keep up with where I'm yapping and where I'm blabbing. But I know that I learned a lot. I learned what I can handle, what I can't handle. I learned what I could streamline. I learned how I could cut down on my like expenses and increase my profit margins. And so like, I have that all figured out now, and I have a way better system for this year. And I'm just like, at this point, like kind of waiting for, the social media attention to come around again, because I know it will. I've been posting on TikTok long enough now. Like I've had my TikTok account for like since 2019 at this point. And so I know that if you just keep posting stuff, at some point it gets picked up, and you just kind of it's kind of like a slot machine. Like, you do kind of just have to like keep posting shit, keep putting it out there. It will find the people. It will, I've been having like a few orders trickle in, recently. And I know that like someday I'm going to wake up to 100 orders, and I am going to be prepared this time. And so like, that's good. Like, the good thing is that I made mistakes last year and I learned from them now. And I'm like a big believer in like the only way out is through. Like, you never know what is going on until you're just like through it and you're on the other side and you're like, okay, I know what I could have done. There is literally no way to like ever prepare yourself for anything. Okay. Not to get too like philosophical here, but like really the only way to figure things out is to experience them. And if you make a few mistakes or waste a few $1,000s, like, it's not the end of the world. It will come through. And I do just have kind of I still do have kind of just like a delusional belief that this is going to work out. That I'm going to be able to pay my bills and pay off my, like business expenses on my credit card. Cause I was putting all of my business expenses on my credit card last year. Like all of the blanks that I ordered and not to get too into like, I know this is like a lot of like inside baseball that people don't really care about. And I'm not going to like if that's like of interest to people, of me to break down like everything that I spent and everything that I earned and what account it went on and what credit card I put it on. Like, if that is actually like genuinely helpful for someone listening, please reach out to me, because I'm happy to. Like, I'm not like, I don't know if it would be helpful for people to see the finances of somebody who was like not quote unquote making it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like making it. I'm really not. And so I'm wondering if it is helpful and like if it would like give someone in a similar situation peace of mind, because I feel like a lot of the times when you hear people talk about like starting a business or being an entrepreneur or being a self-employed artist and stuff like that, you hear a lot about it when they've like gone through the tricky part and they're like on the other side and they're like making a stable income and they've like they're kind of a little bit more set in their career and their trajectory. And maybe like it would be helpful to see someone like me who is kind of in a mess and who is in a couple $1,000s of credit card debt because of the fact that I was throwing money at a business that I do have just kind of like a delusional like belief in. I'm more than happy to like open up about that if that is, but I just don't think that a lot of people like really like want me to crunch the numbers. Whatever, reach out, please. Like the one thing about a podcast, here's the thing. Here's what I'll say. It bugs me sometimes that there's not like a comment section on a podcast. Like, you can't go into like, if you're listening to this on Spotify, you can't just like go leave a comment on it. Like, you have to find my Instagram or my TikTok and like find me from there. And I wish there was a way to get like direct feedback from a podcast. But on the other hand, I don't, because this does feel like kind of a good faith listenership. Like, I do find that if you hate me or if you're like someone who just like kind of comes across me on TikTok and you're like, I don't know, like she kind of bugs me, like people like that aren't going to go to my Linktree, find my podcast, go to the app to play the podcast and listen to the podcast. Like, people who don't give a shit about me or who like kind of really dislike me, I assume that they're not listening to this, right? I do feel like this is a good faith community. I feel that generally for podcasts, especially because I like don't promote my podcast really on like TikTok. I don't do video. It is kind of like, if you find this podcast, it's because you had to look for me or you had to come across me and then you had to look for my podcast. But because like I do feel if I were to talk about my finances on like TikTok, I wouldn't be ready to do that. I wouldn't want to do that because I know I would get flamed in the comments, and like there's a lot of things like I don't talk about a lot of the things that I talk about on here on TikTok because I know I would get flamed and it would find the wrong audience. And because TikTok, you can't control who sees your stuff. Instagram, like Reels and stuff too, you can't control what audience your content gets served to. So you kind of just have to be prepared for the wrong people to see it and for them to give you feedback that isn't like, I hate it when a TikTok of mine makes it to like the wrong audience and they like fundamentally like misunderstand me or the video, and they don't get my humor. They have no context for like the video and where I'm coming from. I do feel like if you listen to the podcast, you have a bit more context about me. You like are a little bit more like inherently understanding about me. You're not just here to like rip me to shreds and flame me about my like opinions, finances, innermost thoughts, whatever. So if I was going to do it anywhere, if I was going to do a full on first full year sole proprietorship self-employed artist financial breakdown, this would be the platform for me to do it, because I do think that the people who would seek out that episode wouldn't be there to like grill me, you know? That was kind of a long tangent, but basically like, yeah, this all comes down to the fact that like I had a little bit of like a come to Jesus moment yesterday where I was like, okay, the savings is dwindling. We are not bringing in as much money as it costs me to live. I need to shape up. I need to shape up or ship out, basically. And like, it's not like dire, you know what I mean? Like, I'm obviously not going to be like on the streets at the end of the month, even if I don't come up with the exact amount of tax money and whatever. But like, it was just kind of like, oh shit, I need to figure out a way to do this. And then I talked to my therapist about it, and like, that kind of overwhelmed me, because we came up with like a list of everything that I like need to do, of like, these are like, because I do truthfully, I need to pick up some gigs. I need to pick up some part-time work. So I was like, okay, these are the people I can reach out to. This is like what I can do right now that's in my control. This is, this is what I need to do, because right now I'm just trying to kind of get myself through the end of the month. When I figure that out, then I need to figure out when I figure out my sales tax, then I need to figure out my income tax. So like, life is a little bit relentless in that way. And I do feel like, I'm really trying hard to not let myself get beaten down. Okay. I'm having like, I'm having radical belief in myself. Okay. I'm having radical self-belief. That's going to be my little like mantra for the month, radical self-belief. Because really, if I don't believe in myself a crazy amount, this isn't going to work out. I like have to just be like so on it with like posting. Cause that's the thing, is like, I know I have the anecdotal evidence to prove that if a video blows up on TikTok and I get a bunch of orders, like that could happen. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just like, oh, what if it happens? It's like, that's happened to me once before. And like, what's stopping that from happening again? Like, I know that that like the people will come. I really do. Like, I only have evidence to prove that. I have no evidence to prove me otherwise. I have had that moment before. So like, I have like literally history is only proving that it's going to happen again. Which I know, like, if you're listening to this, you're like, what the fuck? Like, this is like some manifesting babe, like bullshit. I know that I'm on right now, but I mean, like, honestly, it does feel crazy for me to be just like trying to make it work in a really expensive city, like funding a life where I get to make things and be an artist. And like, I'm really, like hoping, I'm gunning one day, if I keep making this goddamn podcast, I know I can fucking monetize this shit someday. I know it. I know that people will. I know, if you're listening right now, I love and appreciate you literally so much. And like, I'm going to say, you guys were here from the beginning. Okay. Yeah. That's the OG fan club right there. You guys were there from the beginning when I only had, like 500 people listening. And someday I truly believe that I'm going to have 50,000 people listening. I do. I do. I call it narcissistic, call it egotistical. I do think that I listen to a lot of podcasts. I know what I like. I know that there are people who want to listen to me talk. And there's people who don't, but they won't come. And the people who do want to, they will come. I really do believe that if I just keep making the stuff that I want to make, the stuff that I believe in, the podcast, the art, the everything, I know that it'll come through. Like, I'm really trying to believe that the universe will provide, because really, like, what else can I do? You know what I mean? What else can I do? Is the point of life to not like try to do something that you love? And like, I think the episode is called I'm Doing It My Way. I know I went on a rant at the end of that episode, like similar in this vein, if you want to go listen, more about kind of like why I'm choosing to not pursue a traditional career or like get a 9-to-5, that kind of thing. But right now I'm just kind of like, yeah, like the point, it would be the financially responsible decision to, push this to the side right now, push everything I'm working over to the side, and focus on like getting my resume really good, getting my cover letters really good, and applying to every job I could imagine, and treating job hunting like a full-time job. But you know what? Also, that would make me actually want to kill myself. Like if that would genuinely ruin my life in a way that I don't think people understand. Like, I don't even think I understood how depressed I was when I didn't think there was any other option for me other than to continue being a barista or continue working in like a low paying like operations job or like retail. Like that was at one point only a couple of years ago, like what I thought my destiny was, and like what I thought that was all I was cut out for. And I was like unbelievably depressed and unmotivated and undriven, and I'm not that way anymore. And I think it's a lot of the time, I think it's because I kind of finally accepted the fact that like I'm not cut out I'm not cut out to be a career woman. You know what I mean? Like I'm not cut out to climb a corporate ladder. I'm not cut out to like go, like I know it's crazy to me because I feel like if everyone could choose not to work, they would choose not to work. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to do the least amount of work possible for the most amount of money. I really like, that is kind of my driving factor. Like my driving factor is that I want to make stuff that I want to make. I want to produce the stuff that I want to like produce and put out into the world. And that's kind of the only thing I'm going to settle for at this point, is to do that and to make money off of it. Sorry if that's unrealistic, but that's kind of my only option right now. Because again, like I'm so sorry, but like I literally, this is my only chance. I'm 25, I'm almost 26. I'm turning 26 at the end of the month. But like, if not now, if I don't like try to like put my all into something and make something work out and take risks now, like when am I going to do it? Like the time, like you feel me? You get me? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So yeah, basically like point of the story is that I'm like, I'm trying to find some freelance things to pick up. Like I'm trying to sell some like social media packages to people because I've done that before, and I'm trying to kind of like, that's like something that's easy and enjoyable for me to like put together reels and Instagram posts and stuff like that. So I'm like trying to bolster that part of my like freelancing stuff a little bit more, and networking, like word of mouth, because Upwork was getting me nowhere. I think, you know what? I might do a whole episode where I read the most insane Upwork listings that I've ever seen. If you're unfamiliar, it's a website for freelancers. Like I mostly look for like social media clients and like UGC clients on there. I think like people use it for like web developers and stuff. It's like any kind of like freelance work you could imagine, like creative, STEM, what have you. But like it's absolutely a hellscape over there because everyone's like, I'm looking for hi here. I'm gonna try to recall one from memory. Just kidding. This is like a satirical impression of what an Upwork listing is, but not even that much of satire. Like I did see one the other day that was a girl offering, she wanted you to like take pictures of her like, products and like smudge bundles and stuff, and her compensation that she was offering was a tarot card reading. And I'm like, get this shit off of Upwork, get this shit onto Craigslist. This is some Craigslist bullshit. If I'm on Upwork, a website for freelancing professionals, I'm expecting to be compensated with money. With love and respect, I am sure that you're a very gifted tarot card reader. That is not going to pay my rent. But I swear to God, every Upwork listing is like, US based freelancers only, please, which is fine. I'm always US based, but they're like, US based only. We're looking for someone to do our TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, social media management, create all the content. We're looking to post 40 stories per week and 3 posts and 2 reels every week. And you're also expected to do hashtag research and analytics research. And our budget for the entire thing is $150. $150 an hour? No. $150 per month? No. The budget we have listed is $150 total. Okay. So that's not gonna really fly with me. So like I'm done with Upwork. I'm moving to word of mouth. I'm choosing to believe in the power of my community and word of mouth and face-to-face communication because the internet is letting me down. The internet is letting me down. But like at the end of the day, like I do have faith in what I'm doing and that it's going to work, and in my ability and in my skills and what I can offer to people in terms of like services or in terms of like the goods that I make and create and the art that I make. Like, I don't know, like I do, because if I didn't have faith, if I didn't have like faith and belief that it would work out, like I would have gone and gotten a job right now. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't still be like, why, if I didn't care about it so much, would I be so broke and why would I be putting so much time into something that pays me nothing, that pays me negative dollars, that I in fact have to pay to do? If I didn't like this, why would I be paying to do the job? You know what I mean? I'm actually really loving, that wasn't the intention when I started this podcast, but it's kind of turned into, on occasion, including today, like a place where it's almost like a journal, but like a vocal journal. And I don't like to journal. Like it's just not something that I can ever get into. I feel like I don't really process things by writing them down. Like when I go to journal, like I know that this sounds rich because I was just reading you like literally the most like emo diary entries ever in the last episode. But like as an adult, like I just don't know. Like I've tried to journal on occasion, and I kind of like don't like in a daily fashion. It doesn't really work for me. Because I sit there at the end of the day and go to journal, and I literally find myself just like writing down a recount of like what happened that day. And I'm like, well, that isn't really like what I want to journal for. Like I would like to journal to kind of like get to the heart of some of my thoughts and like desires and whatever. Like I would like to process my like feelings and like stuff, but I don't, I that's writing isn't the way that I can do that. But I find that talking them out to an anonymous audience via the medium that is this podcast, Olivia's Obscura, like I do find that to be like very helpful. Not to be corny, not to be cheesy, but like it is helpful to process my thoughts and feelings and life through this medium. And like I'm grateful for that. And I'm thankful that people listen. Like thanks for listening, you know what I mean? But like it's honestly so helpful for me to be doing this now that like I don't think, even if no one listened, like I think I'd probably still record it. Like I definitely would still just be like yapping about my reflections and my finances and my radical self-belief and blah blah blah. Like this is stuff that I don't know, these are topics that like I don't really like to touch on with my friends or with my parents or like even with Ty most of the time. Like I don't know, I just kind of feel like I like in a lot of ways like I don't welcome other people's feedback. And I know that sounds like kind of like a rude, like harsh thing to say, but like I'm really not, I kind of don't like mention this like to my parents, like when they call and stuff like that. Like I don't really like tell them about like this, like this is my money situation, like this is my finances, like da da da, because like I kind of like don't want them to, I'm worried about getting an answer or a response or feedback that I don't want to hear. I'm worried that people are going to tell me that like I'm being irresponsible, that I need to get a job or like whatever, like I get a real job, you know what I mean? And like I don't want to put myself in the position to get an answer that I don't want to receive. So I just kind of like don't put myself in the position for that to happen. like I do, like I know that's kind of like echo chambery, and like I do value, like I obviously, like I have a therapist, like I really value her advice. I'm very honest with her and open with her. And I was talking about this stuff with her yesterday because it is kind of like a third party that like she is honest with me, but it always comes down, like she always lets me figure stuff out for myself. And I feel like sometimes when I talk to people like my parents, I feel like they want to figure it out for me because they just like, they love me and they want the best for me and they don't want me to like struggle or suffer. And so they want to give advice, they want to fix, but like I don't kind of want this to be fixed. Like I want to be able to like process the fact that like, yeah, I'm unhappy with where I'm at right now. Or not unhappy. I'm in a transitional period when it comes to like my finances, and I'm on a little bit of unsteady footing right now, but like I don't want someone to like offer like a fix or give me advice. I'm kind of not open to it because I know what I'm doing and I know my goals and I have a plan and I know I have like short-term like goals and like goals that I want to reach this year, like like benchmarks, you know, like sales that I want to reach and whatever. And like, I kind of don't want any advice that's not pertaining to that. And so like, and I just don't like want that to come across as like, I know everything, like no one else has any advice to offer me. And it's like, I actually don't think so. I think that I am in tune with what people to go to in my life for what kind of feedback I want. Like I'm going to go to different people for different things. And I think that's fine. And I think that's healthy. And I really don't think, like, I think it would only be like damaging to my relationship with my like family and close friends and Ty and whatever to like go to them for everything. That's just not, that's like not good to put that on everyone. So like, I don't want to come across as being like, you know, harsh or like I know, like I don't need anyone's advice. I'm the only one who knows, but like I am kind of in tune with what I want. Like I do, like the frontal lobe hardening when I turned 25, like this past year, like really has set the fuck in because I am just kind of like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I kind of know what I want to do. I like am not really looking for anyone's alternative feedback, if that makes sense. But like call back to earlier, like, yeah, it's kind of frustrating sometimes when you're recording a podcast. You feel like you're talking to nobody because like people have to really go out of their way to give you feedback or like responses to the episode. But like a lot of the times, like I really prefer it that way because like it is a way for me to kind of just like speak into the void and process stuff for me internally by like voicing it. It's like a really healthy outlet for me, and I'm just like grateful that I started this podcast kind of on a whim a couple months ago. So thanks for like, I mean, I know this is like a very disjointed episode. It's really not, like those Caroline Calloway episodes were kind of like the standard of the episodes that I want to be making. Like I want to be doing like in-depth research, like episodes, but this week I just kind of needed to like get on here and like, you know, for better or worse, just like journal a little bit. I need to tell you what I was watching, what I was doing, what I was thinking. And thanks for sticking around. If you made it to the end of the episode, like really, thank you so much. If this is your first episode, like thanks. Like I really appreciate anyone who finds the show and who listens and sticks around. Like I love you. I appreciate you so much. Like you're being subject to my like inner turmoil and innermost thoughts. And, I'm like, I hope that can give you some solace. You know what I mean? I do think that this is like the most honest that I am on social media. Like I'm definitely not that honest on Instagram. I only show the best things that happen to me on Instagram. I don't think I'm that honest on TikTok either because I'm scared that people are going to be mean to me if I'm too honest. And so like, this is kind of my only outlet that I like say what I want to say with my chest and, you know, process stuff openly. So thanks for like being along for the ride. That's not like, I don't expect anyone to be here and listen to me yammer, but like these podcasts are the kind of podcasts that I love to listen to. So I'm making one. I'm making a podcast that I would want to listen to. And if you also want to listen to it, I know I've said it a million times. Thank you so much. Remember to follow the podcast on Instagram, ObscuraPod. That's also the TikTok handle. Follow me on my personal Instagram and TikTok at Olivia Stober Studios. And my online store is linked to those too if you want to check out some of my hand-printed goods that I'm selling. If you want to look at the Taylor Swift crew necks, I have the getaway car design and the Swedish Con Cowboy Like Me design. So got any Swifties in the midst? I know I do. I know I freaking do. And yeah, I'm going to send you away with a little kiss. Maybe another one. This one's going on your forehead, okay? Like a tender little forehead kiss. And I'll be back here next week. And thanks for listening. Bye.